Hey, got a really great interview today. Part of a really, really booming retail food space. You're going to want to stick around.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Hey, welcome everybody. Awesome, Matt Thomas, having Matt on the show with you today. Really exciting space, I think, in franchising and in business is the I'll let you describe the space, but I think of it as the specialized retail food. It's very specifically the cookie space. Seeing so much going on in your very specific space. So I'm really, really excited that Matt's been willing to give us a few minutes. Give our audience a few minutes. So Matt, why don't you give us a real quick intro, if you don't mind? And then I got a ton of questions for you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so thanks, Don. I'm happy to be on the podcast with you. So my name is Matt Thomas, co-founder of Cookie Co. My wife, Elise, is the real talent. I got lucky and he picked me up during COVID and gave me a job. And so since then, when we first started, we started. My wife back in 2017 decided she wanted to start doing a cookie store. It's kind of been a dream of hers since she was a kid. She's been baking forever. And for a long time, she did catering and she would do private events and corporate events and things like that. And we started kind of getting to the scene where there was other cookie companies popping up and she was still getting these catering orders and we would go and cater. And people would be like, hey, like, where's your store? I would love to order from you guys on a regular basis for our clients. And my wife was like, well, I just do it at home privately. And they're like, you need to open a store. She's like, I know. And so finally she came to me in like 2018 and said, hey, I want to open up my own store. And so we started kind of exploring what that might look like. And I was, I had a company that I was a part of for a number of years as a co-founder of that company. And so I started looking at this with her. And in 2019, we signed our lease with a goal to be open in March of 2020. And we're based out of Southern California. And that was peak COVID. Like COVID was going on and permitting was pulled, contractors stopped working, unemployment was happening. It was just a crazy time. And we faced some really big obstacles there because we had signed a 7-year lease and now it looked like we might not ever open, right? Wow. And long story short, my wife's, who's just gets things done, she's like, hey, I'm going to start selling cookies on Instagram. People can pick up from our home via our garage. And so we started that route until we opened our doors in August of 2020. We started franchising about a year after that, and now we're just kind of trying to keep up with the pace. It's been busy.
That's awesome. I just love the flexibility and the way small businesses can they're of the size that they can really respond. Again, if they're sharp enough, as you guys were. Well, we're going to go out and start to sell them on Instagram since we don't have a store that we can open them. I remember the company I used to work for was 50,000 employees and I don't know, at one time before I left, we were like 7 billion in revenues. And I remember vividly the CEO used to talk to us about being this big aircraft carrier, and how he was a Navy guy and how slow how long it takes, how slow it is to turn an aircraft carrier. So I love the nimbleness and the flexibility of small businesses. So that's an awesome place. So what was your vision when you and your wife first started? And so obviously the challenge was COVID, but were there other challenges? And has the vision changed? That now you're a couple of years in, you're franchising. So what was the vision at first, and has that changed at all?
Yeah, great question. So, like you said, when we first started, the plan was to get our door open and we were excited to do it. And then COVID hit and the goal quickly became, let's survive this, right? And, we definitely had some challenges there, both business-wise and personally. My wife got pregnant in that time, which was not part of our plan, but it happened and it's been great. But we also had a house fire. Our house burned down a few months after, and all during COVID. And we ended up living in an Airbnb with a newborn for a little bit while still running our first business. And Again, the plan was to survive, but we went from surviving to like doing very well with our single location. And we quickly had people reaching out to us through Instagram and people coming to our doors. In fact, one of the first people who ever reached out to us about franchising was a woman who is going to Palm Springs from LAX. And she stopped here because I forget what reason she came in, but she ended up buying a box of cookies and a drink. And then she stood outside in our parking lot for almost a half an hour. And I walked out there to say, hey, just want to make sure you got your order. Everything's good. She said, I've just been here for almost 30 minutes now watching how many people are coming in and out of your guys' door. It's just a constant chain. How long have you guys been open? I said, almost 5 months now, 6 months. And she's like, are you guys franchising? Is this a single location? So I kind of went over with her. And that's when I was like, hey, franchising might be a cool option, And we kind of went into like, okay, let's get a franchise attorney. Let's do this the right way. Let's take the right steps and processes. And I reached out to a couple of good friends of mine who know the franchise world very well. And my wife and I decided like, hey, if we're going to franchise, we're going to do it the right way. And my wife, who's a true baker, right? She's been baking since she was a little girl. She's like, if we franchise, my one request is we never, ever sacrifice quality of ingredients to be able to mass produce. And that's been something we've been true to since day one. We use real eggs, real butter, real sugar. We don't use high fructose corn syrups. We don't use oils. We don't use liquefied eggs. Like we use real ingredients. And I think that's one thing that a lot of our franchisees recognize and appreciate. They can taste the quality and they're excited to share that with their friends, their family, their community. And so,
you bake everything in the stores, your franchisees, because I know there's different models, like you said, that aren't using real ingredients. There's ones that produce the goods somewhere else and move them out to the retail locations.
Yeah. We bake everything in-house starting at 6 a.m. So we make our own frostings, we make our own sauces, we make our own bases. Cool. Yeah. We have been able to create some really cool processes. One of them, I don't know if you've ever heard of the company called Honeyville. They do like Kodiak cakes, all that. They do some pretty big brands. What we did with them is it took us about 9 months to perfect it, where we're at like above 99% accuracy. Is all of our dry ingredients are prepackaged by them and then distributed by Cisco to all of our franchise locations nationwide. Nice. So all you'll do is you'll get that batch and you'll add eggs, butter, flour, vanilla, and you're good to go. And then your mix-ins of chocolate chips or whatever else it is. And so that's been great for us where we haven't had to sacrifice quality and we've become much more efficient and it's very cost effective. It's been very good for our franchisees and our margins. So that's been a great move for us.
Now, I want to talk a little bit, and I don't know if to get into this kind of detail, but you and I have talked before, and I know the selection of your franchisees. I mean, I know, we know we all know the 800-pound gorilla in your space, and I always have this debate with people, what happens if you sell 40, 50, 60 a year, for 2 or 3 years? What kind of problems do you ultimately have? Are you capitalized properly to support that kind of growth? Nobody is. Sure. And I know you and I've had that chat a little, and so I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about your focus on a different growth pace, and the reasons behind that.
Yeah, so our growth pace is pretty interesting because, like you said, there's a lot of competition in this space right now. It's a very exciting space. There's a lot of people looking into it. I think one of the things that sets us apart is obviously we use real ingredients. Where I think in 2023, franchisees as well, like the quality side of that. People are very health conscious. My wife runs marathons. In fact, next month or in April, we're going to the Boston Marathon. She runs that every year. She does Chicago, New York. So she's very health cautious. And so franchisees are like, not only is it better, and I'm not advocating that cookies are healthy by any means, but I will say that like real sugar, your body can process our ingredients much better than high fructose. It's like I use, Five Guys at In-N-Out versus McDonald's, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know what's in that burger at Five Guys, and I know where those fries come from St. Anthony, Idaho, because I see it on the signage board, right? Versus McDonald's, I'm like, it's pink slime, but what is even pink slime, right? Like there's a lot of factors there. And so we really believe that's a big reason why people like the idea of franchising with a cookie co. And so I think that's allowed us to really start growing the right way and be a little more selective with our franchisees.
Yep. Did that lady that stopped, did she ever become a franchisee?
So she wanted to become a franchisee, and then she wanted to open up 5 to 10 in the East Coast. And her husband, it was COVID. They owned a construction company, and that was kind of their backup plan, is to get into franchising. We had communications for a little bit. She was a great lady. but her husband's company really struggled through COVID and set them back quite a bit. So she didn't, at this point, they're still not. I haven't talked to her in a number of months, but yeah, COVID.
There's a, not sorry to interrupt you. There's a reason I ask is because what I see with a lot of franchise over my 23 years, particularly the last say 8 or 10, have working with emerging brands. Myself, our company does that, and those first 2 or 3, a lot of times I have heard stories where it's somebody that just showed up, or it's a friend of a friend, and they almost never work out. I mean, those first few is that are selected because it seems like the right thing to do, often don't work out. So I'm kind of glad what happened for you, because often they don't work out that way. And so back to I think your desire to get the right people is really it's the right way to do it.
Right, we're evolving. We're constantly making, we're noticing new types of people, new traits, people that we want to work with. One thing that we've done a lot of is we have a lot of people who, over COVID, they, school teachers, police officers, firefighters, nurses, they've decided to make a change in their careers. And we have vets, firefighters, school teachers who are now operating Cookie Co's daily as their 9 to 5, right? And they love it. They're happy. They sell cookies, and I journal.
How can you not be happy selling cookies?
I've had way worse jobs. I used to bale hay on my grandpa's ranch. I've had some terrible jobs growing up, and I do cookies, So
I picked potatoes, so I don't know if that's worse than baling hay. It's not fun. You're all crouched over, bent over.
So back shot by the end of the day, and I get it.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, and I'm going to stare into not at you, Matt. I'm going to stare in and say, if anybody thinks that that starting something is hard and you're not going to be able to do it, look at what Matt and his wife did and are really blossoming and booming. So it cracks me up how people are so nervous sometimes getting started. And having a kid is a lot bigger decision. Getting married is a lot bigger decision than starting a business. And look what you guys had to weather, and obviously you're doing well. So
thank you.
One of the questions I love to ask is, what's been your greatest highlight so far? What's been your greatest success so far?
That's a great question. I'd say one of our biggest successes so far is, I went to a conference in Denver, Colorado back in November. It was a franchise conference. And one of the keynote speakers said that less than 1% of businesses ever become franchises, right? And of that number, 76% of them don't sell a single franchise their first year, which I thought was pretty crazy, because at the time I was working out of a warehouse garage. My desk was next to a dumpster, and I had done about 18 franchise sales that in the first handful of months, and so I think our biggest success is just our brand, and our quality really does intrigue people to look into us. Cookie Co, we clearly sell cookies. What's different? We use real ingredients, real quality, baked fresh daily, right? So I think our biggest success is just our ability to grow quickly and gain the amount of interest that we have. We have an amazing team, like truly an amazing team of people that work with us and work for us with Cookie Co now. And I think our franchisees see the support that comes with it. True story. My biggest goal when franchising was, okay, what are my weaknesses? I'm not an expert in operations. That is not my strength. I'm sales, branding, marketing. That's what I'm average at. So I went out and hired great people for operations. I went out and hired people with experience to build our systems, our processes, create trainings for our franchisees. Every one of our franchisees, from the first franchisee ever who opened in April of last year, has been to a corporate location for training, had 2 weeks worth of training. And a lot of the times franchisees that I've talked to, like, we own another brand, and it was sign your FDD, pay your franchise fees, and then pay your royalties. Good luck. And it was like, I don't want to do that. I want them to feel supported, to be trained. And so that's a big thing for us. So I'd say our biggest success is having franchisees who are both interested in our brand because of the way we've created that brand, but also being able to support our franchisees up to this point,
Yeah. And that's huge. No, I mean, that's the franchise industry, and I've been in it 23 years, but rightfully so, has a lot of black eyes because of how that buy sell has gone on. And then And then, after the sale, it's like, where'd that guy go? Well, he was just the sales guy, and now you're stuck with me kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
absolutely right. Obviously went through COVID and so on. Your wife got pregnant during it, but any other surprises? I always like to ask, is there any good surprises, like something happened that you didn't anticipate and it was good? Maybe something to help some other people out. Sometimes we get people like yourself on in our audience that are new franchisors, and we can give them tips on something to avoid, so they don't go through that same surprise. So any good surprises, any bad surprises?
Yeah, I'd say the good surprises are, you'll be surprised at what opportunities fall in your lap if you just show up and persevere, right? One of the things that I've written down on my whiteboard, it's been there for so long that it won't even erase anymore. It's DAP, right? It's decide, act, and persevere, right? So you make the decision, you take action, and then you persevere, right? There's going to be good days, bad days. There's going to be great days. But you've got to persevere and, kind of don't get too high, don't get too low, stay neutralized, and, opportunities will come. Just keep on building what you believe in. And that's kind of what we've done here. We have our product, we have our brand, and we just continue to go and move forward, and new franchisees, new opportunities, massive accounts, come to us on a regular basis. And that's the thing. I think it's really just about showing up and putting in the work. And, if you've got a good product, people will find you,
Yeah, I said, I've told people a little bit of my story. When I was in the corporate world, I could go off and, for a few days or a week and just whine and moan and complain. It was such a big company. Nobody cared and nobody knew. When you're an entrepreneur and a small business owner, you can't do that. Yeah. And you have to react or if you do that, you'll go out of business. The bottom line is
there's days where you want to, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I work with my wife, which is another thing. People are like, you and your wife work together. How do you do that? I'm like, to be honest, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I've been an independent contractor for a long time. I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of friends. Never knew I was going to be married to my favorite business partner ever. She's a freaking rock star. Like she's great, And so her and I go to lunch. And
so why don't we have you on the call here why did we?
I don't know. I was wondering the same thing.
I'm kidding. That's funny. My wife watches these and she goes, nope, ain't never going to happen. So sure. We've been married 44 years. We could never work together like that. So, so what are some of your secrets of making that work in a husband-wife family setting? I never asked that question before, but I think it's worth checking in.
Good question, because I think there's a lot of interest there, with people who, I think especially franchisees who decide to be owner operators together, or other couples who want to start their own business together. Absolutely. I think there's a thing in our society of like, oh, couples can never work together. And it's like, to be honest, I think for me personally, one of the things that I've loved about working with my wife is a lot of the time in a previous career, I would come home from work and I'd have to internalize frustrations or successes. I'd share like, hey, guess what happened today? I sold this account and this is what happened. She's like, that's great, honey. Congrats. She's not that, she likes that I get paid for it, but that's it. She can't relate, Yeah. Or if I come home and I'm like, dude, I cannot believe I just lost this account. I'm so frustrated, X, Y, Z. She's also like, oh, that sucks. Like, I'm so sorry that happened, right? But this is cool because like we can talk about successes and struggles business-wise, and we can relate to one another. And she's like, well, why don't we just try this? And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense, and vice versa, And so you really learn, I think it's honestly strengthened our relationship in a lot of ways, in our marriage, but also our business. I think we're married, so we obviously like each other somewhat, but as business partners, it's been fantastic because she's, she does a lot of things that I'm not good at, right? Mm-hmm. And she's the baker. She's the real talent. I'm just decent at some of the business side of things. And so that's the big thing, I think, is, being able to share your successes and struggles together and being able to relate to one another, and having a truly vested interest in how my day was, because my success is hers and vice versa when it comes to business.
And I think that strengthens your relationship. That strengthens your marriage. And you guys have nice complementary skill sets, which I think is huge. If you were both the marketing, sales oriented people, that wouldn't work. You'd be banging heads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So one of the things is that I shared with you, but right before we came on air was we get people on here that are my audience is typically either people looking for business ideas that they want to start or consultants, brokers, consultants who are matching people. So could you share for a couple of minutes who you're looking for? You know, who is an ideal cookie company franchisee?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for us is we're looking for people who want to be a part of a new emerging brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
They understand what emerging brand is. They understand that an emerging brand is just that. It is emerging. It is growing. We are not Chick-fil-A or McDonald's at this point. We're still very much a startup. We have 17 locations open currently nationwide. And
Nice.
we've got a handful of dozens in the pipeline that are under development, going through leases, all that fun stuff. And of those people, the big thing that we try to strive for is people who have a good attitude. People who have some capital who can qualify for an SBA loan or they want to self-fund. The financial side is not nearly as important as the quality of person, right?
Yep.
We want people who love our brand, love our product, and they want to share that quality of product in their community, right?
Yep.
And so I think it comes down to attitude, hard work. It's not easy, no joke. It's not a grind where it's miserable, like, pulling potatoes or baling hay, like you and I grew up doing, but it's a job. It's an investment. It's an opportunity. So like I said, I think the big thing is attitude, people who want to be business owners first time. A lot of our people are first time franchisees,
Okay.
Many of them own other businesses who are deciding to diversify their portfolio, and they're hiring a general manager or a regional manager to run 2 or 3 locations for them with us, doing multi-unit deals.
Good.
But it really just comes down to attitude. Do you see the vision? Do you like our product? Do you like our quality of ingredients? Is that important to you? If so, tell us about yourself. You're a hard worker.
You can teach them all the other pieces of the business. Yeah. You can't teach somebody attitude.
No, it's impossible.
You really can't.
It's impossible. Yeah, exactly.
And so your model is semi-absentee. Somebody can hire a GM.
Yeah, we have a lot of places. We're about 60-40. 60 are owner operated, 40% are GMs right now, which is nice because we have training locations in Beaumont, California and Draper, Utah, where you can send your GM for training or owner operator go for training. And so with the GMs on site who are training, and running the store, we do ask for you to be involved, right? We expect you to do, 5 to 8 hours a week minimum with your GM to go over training, Cisco scheduling, orders, et cetera, product catalog, P&L essentially, right?
Yeah.
And so, but we have about 40% of our stores are run by a GM right now. And
that's neat.
It's going well.
And it's big in this market right now. I work an awful lot with consultants, broker consultants, and every one of them is saying that their candidates are really looking for additional revenue streams. Yes. They don't want to be as dependent on their employer as they are right now. Maybe find something that eventually they'd leave their job, but right now they want that. They want to have multiple revenue streams, so to speak. And so your opportunity, I mean, that's great. There aren't that many true semi-absentee models out there. A lot of companies will say you got to do it full time for 2 years and then you can do it. Well, that doesn't fit today's market. That's not fit today's market at all.
No, not at all.
Hey, I'm going to put your website back up there again for anybody that wants to reach out to Matt to find out more information. There's one question I always end with, Matt, that I want to share before we wrap up, and that is there anything I haven't asked you, that you go, oh, wow, I really wished I'd talked about XYZ before we were done. I wish Dom would have asked such and such a question. So kind of last shot, last thoughts, anything you want to share with the audience that maybe we haven't talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I think highlighting, one of the things about us is what makes us different compared to the competition, like you attested to in the beginning. Like, we're in a very competitive space right now. There's a lot of cookie companies out there. There's a lot of opportunities with Cinnaholics and churro brands and sweets and ice creams and yogurts and cookies. I think the biggest thing that sets us apart is that, we're new, we're growing fast, we're emerging. But the thing is going to be the quality. I think the quality is something that people can taste. They recognize, customers appreciate that,
Yep.
So I think that's a big thing with us is as we build this, like emphasizing the quality and not just everyone says, oh, we are the best tasting. Like I truly believe that we are. In fact, we're actually looking for competitions to join to kind of do blind taste tests.
Oh, that's cool.
Challenge. But furthermore, it's like, we do use high quality ingredients. Like we do not sacrifice that. And, we have customers who are like, hey, what do you guys use? And I'm like, oh, I'll show you. I open up my warehouse door and this is our dry storage room. This is boom. Here's our sugar. Here's our eggs. Here's our, like we really are very transparent about our ingredients because I think that is important. I think that's going to be something that sets us apart with both franchisees and customers is quality. Quality is a huge factor that, you can't, no matter what, quality will win every time, You can market subpar quality products very, very well and have great sales initially. And I think slowly but surely you'll start to see like it's tapering off. But with quality, I think word of mouth, that organic.
People want natural, I think too, more so than even though obviously you're splurging on yourself with a cookie.
Sure.
I think people want natural, and that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. The Cookie Company, Matt Thomas. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you. You bet.
It.